city. Here we go. We taking this city. Here we go. We taking this city. The next stop, the whole wide world. Here we go. We taking this city. Here we go. We taking this city. Here we go. We taking this city. The next stop, the whole wide world.
I done fuck bad chicks from Vegas to Japan, different hemisphere hotties from Greece to Thailand. Being on safari in the motherland, a rice in Indochina with a crew of Asian fans. I told you keep the block cause the world is mine. Hit the currency exchange, it's Euro time. Monte Carlo casino, spending dime. Fast cars to Autobahn, Berlin is mine. Jet ski in Paris, but not in the Hilton. 5-star hotels, 6-star pimping. Now I'm in Brazil and I'm bicycle dip. South American queens, big boss living. Different places, brand new faces. Got more locations than military bases. I've been caught my dreams, so ain't no more chase. Stamp my passport, next destination.
Here we go. We taking this city. Here we go. We taking this city. Here we go. We taking this city. The next stop, the whole wide world. Here we go. We taking this city. Here we go. We taking this city. Here we go. We taking this city. The next stop, the whole wide world.
This journey up in Richmond County.
Back to this Shut Up and Talk TV. Dog said something that sparked. Everybody said a lot that sparked a lot. But one of the things I like, he was talking about the gangs and he said there's no more OGs. But the other side of that, the reality is there's no more grandmas. There's no more, we ain't even got no aunties no more that are lacing, the folks that aren't in gangs. It's like there's a lot, the people that guided us and got us to a point where we were scared to do certain stuff, and we knew, hey, we might wild out in them streets, but when them lights come on, we got to get inside, and don't let mama to find out. And I always post it takes a village, but I remember a time when the village was, you didn't want to do nothing on a bus because we didn't know if one of the sisters from the church was here, because when the sisters see you, they whoop you behind just like they was your mama, and we no longer have that. Arthur was speaking, and John, you said something about what is the middle ground, and I want to kind of jump on that. I want Arthur to kind of respond to that. What is the middle ground?
I personally don't believe there is no middle ground. It's just like sides. We have a side saying Black Lives Matter. The middle ground would be all lives matter. I'm gonna end it there.
I would say the middle ground is legalize being black. Stop taking ours because we're getting mad and angry, and what else can we do? We're tired of mourning, we're tired of crying, we're tired of protesting. We want action, we want a solution, and I don't think talking is getting our voices heard the way that the rest of America and society is being heard.
You said a big thing, you want a solution, and Arthur's saying there is no middle ground. And I think what you're saying, all lives matter, Black Lives Matter, is people just don't understand Black history, especially here in New Mexico. Oh, yeah. And that's another topic. But the thing is that we were talking about earlier is protest. What's the difference between that right and looting? Like if I was a supervisor on the Special Weapons and Tactics team, which I was, and I did plenty of riots. The thing we looked at when people would protest, we didn't care. I was a supervisor, I got to call the shots. We're looking for a violent crime or someone destroying property. Yes. So people that are looting and people that are causing violence, those are the people that get our attention. At the same time, the overall subject is, again, I think the Black community and people such as yourself, Arthur, people need to see this table to talk about it. And I think when we choose sides and we say that there's no middle ground, there will never be a solution. And that's something I just think that we can't come to. But you're right, we do need to understand some history and understand the anger that is out there.
And one thing I like about it, and even I'm a father, I'm a brother, I'm a son, but even I'm torn because half of me, the responsible, I'm like, yeah, we got to do this smarter, we got to do this, we got to think, but the other side is like, I feel what Arthur and the other brothers saying, like, it is kind of like, nah, like we've been. What you may say, y'all been eating long enough, man. Stop being greedy. It's like y'all had y'all chance. Y'all done everything. Y'all treated us like dogs, literally, in the street, and now we're just fed up. So it's almost like, what do we do? Where do we go from here? But the other side, the responsible side of me, then says, well, if we just wild out, what's the result going to be? Somebody else dead, somebody else in jail. It's like, sadly, we don't have the control or power, even though we can say, and I feel it. Forget that. I'm tired of being nice. I'm tired of being calm. I'm do what I know. But the other side of that is they still have all control, all power. I think the first thing that has to happen, especially in here, now mind you, we're in New Mexico, Albuquerque, New Mexico. Albuquerque, New Mexico has 3% black folks, all right? That's all. What we need to do, the only way we'll be able to have any type of control of Albuquerque, New Mexico, or New Mexico, period, is we got to come together with our other minorities. We can't do it by ourselves.
I hear what everybody's saying, and I'm real big on language too. I think one of the big problems is that we call it a war. And here's why. If you study or follow war historically, nobody ever wins a war. You get to a point where both sides are tired of losing and somebody quits. So if we're at war, what's the end game? There is no middle ground, because there's never going to be a time where there's no racism, and there's never going to be a time where I feel like black folks are going to be able to just say we won, because things aren't happening anymore. I feel like we have to get to a point where everybody is legislated, policed, and dealt with equally. Because at a certain point, as angry as I am, the thing with George Floyd to me is as much as it is about race, it's more about right and wrong. If that was a Hispanic man, an Asian man, or a white man they did that to, I would be just as mad, because that is a man that was basically tortured to death for absolutely nothing. I hate that it was a black man, but at a certain point it becomes right and wrong. Because I honestly can't believe, with all the people I know, that every white person or every police officer I know is bad. Just like I know some black people I know aren't the greatest people in the world. But the truth of the matter is, we all, especially LB, we all have good, we all have bad. But I think when we get to a point where it's just war and it has to be us or them, I think that's too much conflict to get by.
Arthur, you had a thought.
I think it's a 2-point segment. When I say there's two sides of things, this being all lives matter and this being Black Lives Matter. In order for all lives to matter, when I say pick a side, this being the side you have to pick, because in order for all lives to matter, you have to be on our side too. So that's why I say there's no middle ground. You have to either be with everybody or nobody.
I think the biggest, and then I'm gonna throw it to the pastor. The biggest thing with Black Lives Matter is confusion. It's so many, and I love social media. It's a great business tool and all of the above. But I also hate it for the fact that a lot of folks don't do any research. They're not going to Google. Ain't no encyclopedias. I don't know about y'all, but I remember my grandma had them encyclopedias, and you mess up, you about to be writing lines or something out of them encyclopedias. But the problem, the biggest thing is Black Lives Matter. They take it as an insult. They take it as we're saying only Black Lives Matter. And the sad reality is, and the sad part is that we even have to do this, but it's literally saying we're living in America right now where y'all act like y'all have forgot that we matter. I said this on my social media, and I'll say it again. Bottom line is, Ahmaud Arbery, the man was hunted down, false imprisoned, and murdered. The murderer did not get arrested or get charged for 3 months. Then you got George Floyd. When it was all said and done, that police officer went home to his family while George Floyd's family was sitting there crying and mourning his death. And then after protests started, then they want to come with some charges. And some BS charges at that. 3rd degree, come on. But again, those are 2 cases of hundreds where Black lives didn't matter. So all we are saying when we hashtag or when we say it, when we march, is that Black lives do matter. Hey, don't forget, just like white, Mexican, red and yellow, black and white, just like all the other ones matter, blacks need to matter too, and y'all need to remember that. Let's take a break. When we come back, we're going to pick up right where we left off.
2 points here. I think the middle ground here is communication and education. I think you have to communicate. You have to bring stuff like this to the table and educate other minorities on what it is that you're doing. Because what I also see is the second part of this is in the Black Lives Matter, we ostracize or push people aside that don't necessarily understand because maybe they're ignorant or they don't know what it is that Black Lives Matters means. So what I've done is I've said, now I've created a narrative where I've pushed everyone to the side except for Black lives, and now I'm going, it's me against the world. When we had other people that were willing to join hands with us, that's willing to help, they just needed to be educated. So education and then communication. Communicate what this really means. Not on social media where I can blast them or beat them up. Get in their inbox and say, hey, let me kind of educate you on where this is going and what this means. That way we can stand together instead of pushing them apart and making them feel like that they're part of the problem instead of the solution.
I agree 110% with what you're saying, but there's the other side of that. And the other side is, I literally, this past week, I broke down Black Lives Matter. And then I've done it on at least, without exaggerating, at least 7 other people's posts that were asking, that the different races that have put all lives matter. And I literally broke it down and explained to them, just like I just did, what Black Lives Matter meant. and they still didn't get it. They still didn't want to get it. That's the other side of it. Some folks don't want to get it. Some folks just, they want to be set in their way, and they just want to say, no, I don't want to hear you say Black Lives Matter anymore. That's what they want. They want us to kill Black Lives Matter. For some folks, that will be the victory. And the only way where they'll be okay with us saying, is get that out there. Everybody say all lives matter, and then I'll be okay with what you guys are doing.
I agree.
And that's not where it's going. The bottom line is, until you stop killing all of us, the Black Lives Matter is not going to go away. Until you guys prove to us that Black Lives Matter, hashtag Black Lives Matter ain't going nowhere.
So I hear what you're saying, but I think one of the main issues I see with the Black Lives Matter movement here, it's no type of organizational structure there, right? You got some people who claim to be Black Lives organizers have no ties to the community, right? None. So if you ask them about where's the black business at in the international district, they'd have the slightest clue, right? I'm gonna put them out there. I got a problem with Nikki Archuleta. She getting all this money for these white folks, but is she putting that money back into our community, right?
Oh, wow.
We got a new black school that's about to open. Is she over there volunteering time with this black school? Has she been part of the Black Mental Health Coalition? These brothers and sisters out here on the front lines with our people going through this mental disorder. So I'm calling Nikki Archuleta and all these other ones out that claim that they're about the black lives. Stop it.
I will say this, and I want to, and I'm not. I hear what you're saying. Nikki's not here, so I don't want to ride on that because she can't defend herself. However, I think the biggest problem, and this is the problem in the black community, it's been proven, or we're showing our cards right now because everybody's doing their own thing. Why are there 4 different Black Lives Matter protests by 4 different people instead of all of us coming together and doing one or 4 big ones all together? I think a lot of the people because right now, I will say this, shout out to New Mexico. They standing up and they want to ride with us, especially the folks that aren't black. And they're ready to march, they're ready to protest along with us. But I think we look bad when it's not unison, when we're not all together, when we're not all on the same page. Literally, I seen a live of the first protest and jumped in my truck and drove down there just to be a part of it. And don't get me wrong, I know there's, folks, we all got jobs and everything, so we can't be at all of them, but I think we definitely, and this is why I put that post out there, and I said, who do you consider leaders in your community? And nobody responded. Nobody. And that's sad because I get hundreds of likes and shares and everything, but nobody responded about who do you see as a leader in your community. To me, that's twofold. That's one, we're not doing our job. If you consider yourself a leader, you're not doing a good enough job of letting folks know you exist. But the other side of that is that people aren't respecting the leaders that show up. Because even everybody here, the reason I reached out to people that are here is because I consider you leaders in your own neighborhoods or in some part of the black community. And I think that's what we have to do first. First, we have to acknowledge our leaders, the people that are stepping up and making a difference. And for me, mind you, I'm from California. I'm not from New Mexico, but I've been out here 12 years. I got 3 kids out here. So this is my community. And my kids are being raised out here. So I must see change. That's the biggest part. Sam Cooke said change coming. Bro, we need it right now. And that's where I want to go next with this is how do we change the narrative? How do we change what's been going on? How do we get to another level? How do we make sure George Floyd doesn't happen here again?
I know I'm not on the camera or anything. I have black children, and I'm not black. I don't want to be on camera. But when you guys are talking about educating people about Black Lives Matter and stuff like that, Albie and I actually had the conversation. I fully understand what Black Lives Matter is for. Like, they're not violent. They want to educate. They want to bring awareness to things. They want to make sure that everyone knows that black men and black women are not
expendable.
Yes. And sometimes I've been told, yeah, you have black children, but you'll never understand how we feel. I do know how you feel. I have black children that go out into the community every day. So I think that's part of it too. They're like, if you want people to be on your side and you want people to come together, you have to be willing to meet them halfway.
Come on.
The thing about being the oppressed, it's not the oppressed job to educate the oppressor on why we shouldn't be oppressed. Like, why should I grow up in a world where I have to tell somebody, hey, I'm a black man living in America. That's the hardest thing you have to do on earth. Treat me fairly. Why should I have to tell somebody that? I shouldn't have to educate anyone on treating someone with equality.
That goes back to that language, though. You shouldn't have to.
Yeah, we all do a lot of things that we
100%.
shouldn't
I agree
have to do.
100%. But if you don't, this continues.
Yeah.
Well, it goes back also just this is where we have to be, like you said, you don't have to, and we shouldn't have to. But if we don't, then it's never going to change. The reality is this: again, we got to remember, y'all, we're only 3% out here. That's a small number, and we're only 13% in the United States. Period. So it's like, we should have been over this. We done been through the civil rights, and we done lost Martin, we done lost Malcolm, we done lost so many great leaders trying to do what we still trying to do. But sadly, we're that one job will never go away. We're going to constantly have to be teaching somebody or telling somebody. And what I look for personally is when I educate you, are you listening and are you willing to change? Because if you're not, one time I done told you, next time, then I might have to get a little more aggressive. And I'll be honest with you. That's where I'm at. Like when you disrespect me, I know people, I tell people this all the time. I know plenty of folks, you say N-word, it's a wrap. You get knocked out right there on sight, no questions. I'm not that dude. You say the N-word, I'm trying to educate you. Male or female. Hey, check it out. We don't use that word. This is why. Oh, I got black friends. No, I don't care about none of that. Don't use the word. Do me that favor. The problem with a lot of people that are racist and some that aren't is they don't accept. To me, if somebody tell you they don't like something, out of respect, stop it, period. It don't matter if you understand why. I don't give a damn who you was raised with, who your best friends with, who do you think I gave you a pass. Because I'm telling you about this. Can't nobody give you a pass for me.
I don't like your beard.
And that's because yours is patchy. But bottom line is this. Can't nobody give a pass
I'm
for
just
me.
living my truth.
On that note, we'll take a break. When we come back, more Shut Up and Talk TV. And we are back to this Shut Up and Talk TV. One of the things that I want to ask everybody, or you guys kind of give your opinions on this. What do you think are some of the things that are the problems with the black community? What are things that we're not doing right, or that we should be doing that we're not doing? Yes, love.
Teacher. So for me, okay, so I'm not a native of New Mexico. I moved here in 2017 from Florida, and I was and I was involved in a lot of different things, pro-black this and pro-black that, and just some multicultural things. And when I moved here, I was really excited about this new adventure, but I also was looking for my community. And it was almost like playing Where's Waldo, to find things that interest me, to find things that I can get involved with. And I just didn't see it. And I'm here, it's 2020, and I still really don't know where a lot of things are. I really have to search for it. So I think as far as the black community is concerned, we don't do a lot of sharing information. We don't do a lot of educating our own communities. We kind of like, for me, I see a lot of other racial groups, they can get together, they organize, and it's cohesive. We do it, we got this group over here, that group over there, this group over there, this group over there, and I just feel like here in New Mexico, maybe across the United States, we don't come together enough. We don't listen to each other enough. We don't agree enough, or agree to disagree enough to be able to come together as one for the same cause. And here in New Mexico, I just don't see a lot of education.
You know what I think? We have to swallow our pride and humility. That's as black folks. That's a big one. Even again, I'm right along with you. When I came out here 12 years ago, I didn't know they had black folks. And then Alvin's in front of Smith's. Anyone know our story? No, we used to sell CDs in front of Smith's years ago. And a black man came out and was like, "Hey, man, y'all black brothers need to come. I own a club. Come check out my club." And we were so excited, man. We're like, "Yes, oh, cool. Find some black folks." Went to the club. And don't get me wrong, no disrespect to the club, but it was a very older club. It was the Elks. It was shout out to Brother Jonathan.
Let's be real. Whatever city you in America, if you go to the Elks, that's where you find the black folks at.
And I'm not knocking the Elks, but the Elks is for the older generation. So none of the young folks or nothing was here. But then it literally took. I was here probably 2 years before I started seeing more black folks. But to really touch on what you're saying is, when we have these black events, whether it's Juneteenth, and honestly, I didn't start knowing about Juneteenth and about the black events until after I got on radio, because then they would come promote or whatever. But even the promotion was limited. Bishop Cooper couldn't be here, but he was even saying he said the biggest problem right now. And he works with the Department of Health for COVID testing and some other areas, but he said is getting the word out to our communities, to black communities. That is the hardest part of it.
Cool. So let me I think being here a while, what's so unique about black folks here in New Mexico is divided along class lines. But what's so important about it, not just the class line, but it's divided by what church you go to, right? So with fellowship, it's the bourgeois, right? The bourgeois people. God's house, and then you got another one, right? So it's divided along class lines, but more importantly, along which church you belong to, right? So when I'm gonna give you an example. Where did former Governor Martinez go to?
God's house.
She went to God's house. Why did she go to God's house?
One of the biggest churches in Albuquerque.
No, because Conrad James, her black Republican, was in her area, right? It was
Oh, yeah,
all strategic, right? And so now, when it's divided by class lines, right? So that's what we have to address too, because you, my brother, you're a Christian, right? And so again, it's all these different denominations, I should say,
To
right?
piggyback off of what you just said, though, in history, the black churches is what brought everybody together.
Exactly. That's what they're supposed to be
that's
doing.
where
Yeah.
it's supposed. That's one of the epitomes of history when you look at anything. Dr. King, even Louis Farrakhan went to churches and brought people together. So that was a center point to bring the African culture to community together. I'm not saying that's the only place that it needs to happen, but it was a big historical point in every history of marching. Everything else is where everything came from. So that's why a lot of people kind of gravitate towards churches to get things done. But the churches here have minimized so much that it's no longer had the power that it used to
I think the average black person, and correct me if I'm wrong, but from what I was raised, average black person, we're raised in the church, or whether grandma, mama, somebody was taking us to church at a young age. We're rooted in church. We're told this is our safe place. You are. Churches where you go, churches where you can always count on. When we get older, like you said, the staple of every community, successful community, is usually a good church, a strong church. I think, and I'm not going to knock, I've been to a couple churches out here. I've been to God's house. I've been to, some full gospel. I've been to a couple of churches. My thing is that we definitely all have to work together. I think that literally is the key. Number one ingredient that we're missing right now is everybody, and sadly, but we out here, when I say we, I'm talking about black folks, we out here like the Crips and the Bloods. Literally, when it comes to churches, or when it comes to, not even church, but when it comes to what we're doing, it's like, oh, this is my event. It's crabs in the bucket. And literally, this is my event. I did this, instead of saying, this is our event for the black community, and how many people can we get out? As a promoter, and I guess you could say that's where I'm a little, I take advantage of that, because for me, as a promoter, I don't care who comes. I need bodies. You want as many people as you can at your events. So that's what encourages you to tell everybody about it. But I think in order for us to be successful, in order for us to grow, in order for us to see change in this city, we have to all work together.
Before you get on a different topic,
go ahead.
Let me ask you, what do you feel is the reason why we don't trust the church to go there no more for the support as something like this happens? Now, some people do
Before
still.
you answer, I'm going to answer for you.
Go ahead.
To me, to piggyback off of the grandma thing, we don't have people in the church that will say something behind closed doors and say it in front of your face. So it's a lot of hypocrites in the church to where people have no reason to trust them because they've heard from somebody else something that they told them not to tell somebody. And to piggyback off of what you said, the problem is similar to the solution. The problem is us as a black community, our dollar never circulates a full time in our community.
This is true.
It only circles 1/10. So the answer to that, which would be the solution, is to support each other to where our dollar actually just goes around one time. Let's just start there, to where I spend $1 with you. Now, that doesn't end there. You have to then go spend $1 with somebody else. And then that black person has to do it, and it has to happen at least 8 times before it completes one circle. So if we can do that, it doesn't matter the 3% in our community. And I feel like Albuquerque being so small, if we all supported each other like we can, we could be the staple and show the rest of the world, in a sense, look, this is how it's done. This is Little Wakanda right here.
Well, the reality is they're already watching us. They're already following us. It's just what are we showing them? And I think if we show them we can work together, we show them that we can be as a unit, we'll go, the sky's the limit of what we can do. But the first step is stepping up as a leader and saying, hey, I know what you done heard. I know all the gossip. I know all the trials and tribulations you went through at other churches. But at my church, it won't be this way. I welcome everybody. Doors open. Come on. Let's take a break. When we come back, speaking of churches, let's talk to the pastor. We'll be right back after this.
There's envy, and then there's jealousy in the church. And then what happens is that is what divides people. There's no unity in the community. So people are looking like, look at that church over there, look at that person over there, they think they're doing this. So even the churches can't get together, which I understand everyone's predicaments here. Like, how do we trust the church? Well, I've made my church all inclusive. I think you've seen where I said, I don't care if you're a drug dealer, a pimp, I don't care what community you're part of, come to this church. Because we operate in the love and in the grace that's necessary for people to change. I'm not pushing people out, I'm bringing people in. And I hope that that helps with, if there's a church that you can come to, that not even attending. You can attend your church, but you're looking for someone who wants to try to help all people. Well, then please come and talk to us, because we got some great people over there.
I think the other thing, and then I want Jamar to speak. Yeah. I think the other part of that is some pastors or people over these churches, it's like almost like they're scared of losing their members. Exactly. They're scared if they go to another church and that other church is cooler or the people will like it better, that they'll leave. And to me, that can't be the issue. That can't be how we work, man. We got to just keep rolling, keep coming together, keep doing what we're doing, and learn. To me, if I was a pastor and I went to a pastor church and I thought this church was off the hook, and I'm like, man, I gotta get my church like that. Exactly. So then that means let me get my choir on point. Man, learn that song. Y'all know they do Kirk Franklin? Yeah. Whatever the case, whatever I need to do to get us on the same level. Jamar, what were you want to say?
It goes back to education and the historical facts of America. It's a man named Willie Lynch, and his speech calls division. If his plan, if it implemented correctly, it was going to keep us enslaved for 300 years, and that's what causes the division, putting a light-skinned black man against a dark-skinned black man, and these are just the repercussions of it, and this is what I feel like need to tackle today. It's history, and through the history, all black men are suffering from the Willie Lynch theory, the Willie Lynch effect, and that is what needs to be fixed, and that's what needs to be corrected.
Let's do. Go ahead.
I have a question there, and I know this may open up something, but this is I just wanted to talk about this a little bit.
Come on.
Are we as black people married to our history? Okay, so that's a question I want, because like I said, I see the history, but now it's enabled me, because now I'm labeling the people that are coming against me my oppressors, and you can't oppress me. Not if I have enough people behind me. You can't keep me down. I can run for office. I can get on that bus. I can go vote. I can do a lot of things if I don't have this label of that you're my oppressor, that I'm sitting underneath.
So I hear what you're saying, and I hear Patrick's answer saying yes, we're married to our history, but I think I don't agree. Yes, we are married to, but we don't have to be. To me, it's like, yes, that's our history. Yes, we need to learn from it. We need to know it, because you'll never be able to go forward if you don't know what was behind you. So we need to know of it, but we need to grow from it. And that goes back to even with the riots and with the looting. It's like, okay, we did that. We did that in L.A. We did that, Rodney King. We did that in the Bay too. But where did it get us? It's like, well, if we're really thinking about change too, that's the big part. Especially when we're talking about rioting and looting. Because if we just rioting and looting because I need new TV, then do what you do. Or, But if we're doing it thinking that this is going to help change the narrative or change the community, then we got to be smart enough to realize that no, it hasn't. I want to do this, and I'll just so everybody know, I'm not going to cut. We're going to keep rolling till we're done talking.
Wait, you mean we didn't solve blackness in one show?
No, unfortunately we haven't. But I want to ask, I want to take it over to John. For you guys to know, John is a retired police officer, kind of retired. But the thing that I want to ask you is, I just found out at the Candlelight Visual that there is a police oversight committee. That there's, I guess, 6 of them. For every region, there's a board, there's an oversight committee, a review board, and it's people that are not the police. Even the mayor, we talked about it yesterday. I asked him, and he said they need more ethnicity on the board, because right now you got a gang of white folks
right there.
So of course my first thought is, tonight literally they said you can go to the city and apply. Here's the problem, and this is one thing that I think we definitely have to try to change. Is right now no full-time mom or dad can do it. You have to go and commit to 2 nights a week at the police, I guess, cadet place. You have to take like a training 2 nights a week. Then you got to do a ride along for like a month type thing, where it's like some of us can, but to me that's That's high strong. That's a lot.
It's a lot of barriers.
Yeah, that's a lot.
I think that's only a small part of the issue. I think committee and citizen oversight have to be more involved.
Yeah.
If I'm on a citizen oversight committee and your internal affairs or whoever, and you investigate something and you hand me a report, all I have is a report that you handed me. I feel like citizen oversight committees need to be more involved in the actual investigation process to come to terms and come to a solution and actually see what's going on.
Well, what they're
Because I can
supposed to
tell
be
you
doing,
anything.
and John, I just want to get your words on this. They're supposed to be taking our issues, taking what's happening where we at Northwest Albuquerque, taking that and saying, hey, we had these problems last week. How can we address it? How can we deal with it? The problem is you got retired 50, 60, 70-year-old men and women that are doing this that are in the community. They're not working. They're not involved. They're not seeing the problems. So how can they go speak for us about our problems when they're not even there? Same thing with whether you're going out to the war zone or wherever. Same thing. The people that are part of that section's committee are not the same people that be at the bird and that that are going through the actual issues. To me, I think that's the biggest problem.
First of all, that's the city of Albuquerque. I'd be working in an unincorporated area. A lot of the reasons you see people that are that old, 50, 60, they can put in that time. At the same time, they have all that training. The regular people, if I pick any one of you that don't even have police experience, you're not pulled from it until you get some type of training. But what type of training is that? Yeah. And I think we need to reverse that. It needs to become more community involvement to the problems that we have in certain sectors of the community and the community as a whole.
Yeah.
Just not to investigate everything together. We need to do it all together because we're serving you.
That's good.
So I work for you guys. That's good. I'll be an elected official if I have the privilege to do that. So it goes into the community policing concept, which makes me laugh. Mm-hmm. We're going to have models in community policing. Fine. But how about, like I tell deputies out there, why don't you get out of your car and actually go talk to people? Mm-hmm. Why don't you have pillars of the community such as you folks come in and talk? Have a seat at the table, like I told Arthur before. That's the only way you're going to solve it.
Well, literally, that's where the idea for this show came together, is literally having a seat at the table. Right now, I don't feel like we do. But it's like, how can we get that seat at the table, so to speak, to start with this conversation, but then how can we take this conversation and put it to action? How can we take some of the things that we've addressed as the issue and say, okay, now we're going to try to fix it? Go ahead, Patrick.
So I think you brought up a really good point. And what we did at Sankofa, we were very, very strategic. The new brother that's on that board, he's part of us, right? And so you have to be involved, right, from the DOJ, John Anderson, all these guys, right? You got to be real strategic. Like you say, they have a couple of investigators. The issue that I have when we talk about policy, one of the things that we're going to address now in New Mexico is that when a police officer gets fired from a department, he still gets to keep his credentials, right? So what he does is he'll go to Farmington or somewhere, he'll hang out at Atlanta, they'll chill out for a little while, and they'll come back, right? Yeah. So that's a policy thing that we're going to start really addressing now. But we know the main issue that we're going to face is that we're going to go against police unions, right? Yeah. These people are very, very powerful people, right?
Hell, we will. That I won't sign a release for.
It's recording.
I think what we're talking about is the LEA 90, and that's for police misconduct. So he is correct. If someone doesn't file an LEA 90 up in Santa Fe, say they get fired from a different department or for whatever reason, if they are not reported to Santa Fe, they are able to get another job in another area in New Mexico. That's something easy to stop, though, and that comes to a specific department. If I was elected sheriff, like I said, that's what I want to do, I would file that LEA 90 because that's my responsibility, so we can't keep those credentials based on the misconduct. But something that needs to go back a little bit further is what drives me nuts about leaders, chiefs, sheriffs, all around the community that I see. They want their people to come to their office. I guarantee you, in law enforcement, we are somewhat closed-minded. There's nobody out here that would talk to Arthur from law enforcement. Why can't I go to where he lives, and we're talking about equality, to find out what your problems are? You don't need to come to my office. I'll go to you. So what I'm talking about is basic human interaction and communication. Everyone wants all this fancy community policing models. Get out and talk to people. Be presentable. Be approachable. Law enforcement, we are so closed off to the public. We are not open to speak to anybody or any other different ideas.
I think that's why a lot of the issues in the community, especially the black communities, are because we don't know the police. And they don't know us, so when they're coming, they come from this assumption of the number one thing I've heard about these police shootings when they try to come up with excuses, they're scared. They fear black men and women, so naturally they're on alert. But why do you fear us? If you take the time to come to the community when it's not drama, especially like coming to a park. Like, you know, on a Saturday when a lot of people barbecue and just coming by and not tell folks to turn on your music, but come to say hi, come to say, hey, how you doing? You know, I think the number one thing that I've loved about these protests have been the police officers that have came and shook hands, took off their riot gear and said, hey, we'll march with you, or took a knee. Like, to me, at this time, that's showing, hey, I'm with you. I'm pissed too. You know, I think that's what's needed. Another thing I want to ask you, John, is let's talk about citizens arrest for a minute. Ahmaud Arbery, literally, and I went back and forth with somebody before I almost blocked him about them saying, well, he was doing a citizen's arrest, so he should have just stopped. And I'm like, I wish somebody would come to me. I don't care what I done did to say citizen's arrest. Please explain to me what is a citizen's arrest exactly.
Who can do it?
Yeah, and is that just, can anybody?
It's not smart. You can trying to detain somebody. That's not smart at all. Every different state has something different, stand your ground law, stuff that we see in Florida. Call law enforcement. I don't think anybody that's has common sense, if someone's going to stop me in a truck and I'm running down the street and they have a shotgun telling me I'm running or I'm going to attack him, because that's what he was doing, trying to save his life. Yeah. So it goes back to another question and a root and solution of problems of, instead of talking about it, something that I'm doing is, yes, I'm retired from the sheriff's department, but I'm still training law enforcement. And you just said something that hits a chord. How am I going to teach these cadets, especially from the Albuquerque Police Department, I'm getting in August, not to be afraid of a black man? And it's simple. Talk to people. Again, I posted on my Facebook earlier today. If you don't have humanity, you don't have the good character, and you're towing the line of good character, I don't want you. I would rather have 8 of you that have good character instead of 25 or 30 for my manpower. I don't want that. Yeah. So to be rooted into the community and actually do something for the community is, again, talking to people. And for me, and everyone keeps asking me, hey man, what was your opinion on Minnesota? That dude don't represent most of us at all. He's not part of us, he's a monster. Yeah. So my thing is, how do I stop another law enforcement officer from ever doing that again? Yeah. That's my goal and that's my vision.
I mean, I guess to piggyback off what he's saying, in order for there to be good officers, they have to step up and say something when bad officers do something. It can't just be a few of those officers. It has to be everybody. So it shouldn't just be Minnesota, Texas, or this state and that state where you see officers putting their shields down. It should be the whole United States. And until it's that way, I will never trust an officer.
And that's all the United States. That's duty to intervene. Go off the case of Los Angeles versus Cunningham, stuff all day long. Don't want to get into that. If you don't intervene and stop, it's simple. Common sense, and you see something that's right or wrong, it's just like we're going back to the Rodney King. Yeah. If you don't stop it, to me, you're more guilty than the gentleman that's doing it. And not only that, let's get more harsh, you're a coward.
I agree.
So if we don't stop it, we're gonna, one bad apple with any company, just not law enforcement, makes us all look bad. Exactly. We all have a duty to the community to get that trust in the community. That's going to be difficult to get that trust back in the United States for law enforcement at all. You don't believe in law enforcement, you won't till you see something that's done. Why? Because we can talk about it all day until we see something actionable. Yeah. Someone that's actually in the community doing something and trying to build on that process.
Well, and I think that's also why a lot of black folks have stopped voting, and still some don't vote, is because they feel like it's pointless. My vote doesn't matter. It's not going to change anything, so they're like, why should I do it? And I think until, like you said, until we see some type of change, and it's sad because, you know, Barack Obama gets a lot of flack for what he didn't do or what a lot of people felt like he should have done when he was in office. But at the end of the day, until you're the president of the United States and you're sitting in that seat, you really can't say what you would have done or could have done or should have done. It's a lot harder, I'm sure, once you get in there. I think in closing, man, this is the one of many shows like this. I think this is what it's needed right now in our communities. The plan is not to just talk about it, but to start looking at some of the situations and looking at some of the ideas and how we can start implementing them, enforcing them, or at least talk to the right people. I hope everybody that's here tonight will come back, and hopefully we'll have some other people, next time to discuss this. I want to thank all you guys for tuning in, everybody for rocking with us. If you want more information about anybody that you've seen here tonight, all you got to do is look at the bottom of the screen when they're talking. You'll see their name. You also see their Instagram or social media page. Or you can just inbox Shut Up and Talk. That's Facebook.com/Shut Up and Talk official, and I'll get you anybody's information. If you're looking for a hot date, don't inbox us. With that being said, man.
Hey, hold up.
Yeah.
Don't put the camera on me.
And on that note, Again, thank everybody for tuning in. This has been Shut Up and Talk TV. I'm LB Johnson.
I'm Dog.
I'm Vaughn.
I'm just happy to be here. Let's go.